Anyway,
Evening,
it should be
everybody.
live. What's the crack, YouTubers? We're here for another live hobby hangout. Myself, your host, Scarnier, and on this week we have from the Battlebound channel. If you're into Battletech, you probably know about them already, and if you don't, you should. We have Tuck Devian.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Glad to be here.
What's the crack, Tuck?
The
What are you gonna
usual.
be? You've been playing Battletech, have you?
Oh yeah,
Getting some games in?
I usually get in at least one game a week anymore. Sometimes two. It depends how it goes. But lately it's just been we do once on Thursdays, and then the next week we'll do Tuesday, and then so just like that, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I was watching your Halloween special episode where they were fighting against the zombie mechs. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was so much fun. That was something I came up with last year, and the as I said in after the action last year, it was just way too brutal. I couldn't keep doing it that way, so I played another game like the next week after that, and I changed a few things, and it was still too powerful. So this year I tried to make it less powerful, and even then, like the monsters just I feel
Yeah,
bad, but at
yeah,
the same
they
time,
chewed them up. Well, they
well,
split up the party. You never split. Like, come on, it's like typical horror story. You don't split up the party.
yep.
You just don't. It's survival 101.
Chad said that when they were doing it, and Crystal was very confident. No, no, this is what I want to do, and he said, okay, sure. And I could just tell Taylor was over there licking his chops, being like, oh boy, all right, here we go. and honestly, I'll be real with you. As I've said to a few other people, I think the players were doing fine until that insane death from above, where
Oh,
Taylor lands on the battle master and then rolls 666 for his location.
yeah,
What are you gonna do? You can't beat that. It doesn't
the
matter what
heads.
how balanced that force was. Like if something like that had happened, that would have been the end of it for the players at that point anyway.
Yeah, but that's the same for BattleTech. No matter what game you're playing, it could be going heavily one way or the other, and then something crazy will happen. There'll be a spanner thrown in the works, and somebody will get an ammo explosion,
Yep.
or somebody will get like a critical with like a machine gun round, the golden BB, as some people like to call them. You
Oh
know what I
yeah,
mean?
we actually say
And
that
it'll,
here, the magic BB.
yeah, 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 the magic BB, and it'll just cause havoc. But that's what I like about BattleTech as
Oh
well. Is
sure,
nothing's uh nothing's like a foregone conclusion. You
anything
know
can
what I mean?
happen. Yep.
Anything can really happen.
I
No
tell
two games will
folks
be the same.
all the time, any given Sunday, it doesn't matter. You know, you could be coming up with a wasp on an atlas, and you just get that lucky shot. You didn't even intend for it to be that way. You're just like, here, I'm making the sacrifice play. And then it turns out to be something you had no clue was coming, and you're just like, wow, okay, well, that's Battletech.
Yeah, yeah, that is. You take the good way. Luck goes your way and it goes against you sometimes. But yeah, that's BattleTech. It's fun. I've not been in it too long, but I've been enjoying it. I have. It's good crack.
I've been
And deal
doing
with
this
it.
for, gosh, 25 years at this point. Like, it's getting to be quarter of a century now. I've been doing it since I was 13. So it's kind of wild just
Right.
for me to say that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I've been into Warhammer for I don't know 20 plus years, so I get like being in wargaming, but I'm enjoying sort of having a new experience, and then even talking to veterans of BattleTech in the game about how the game's developed over times. Like I still find it entertaining that some people will only play like 3025 era stuff.
Oh, sure,
They
yeah.
won't go near they won't go near the clanner stuff at all. I'm like, oh man,
Yep.
you need to let it go. It's been like what 25 years.
That is a trope that we are used to dealing with. It's a known entity, the
It's
3025 crowd.
it's
And don't get me
funny,
wrong,
man.
and I'll be honest with you, I used to be one of those guys. But here's the funny thing about it is I was one of those guys when I was 21. Okay? Like I'm 38 now and I'm just like, yeah, if you want to play clan, let's do that. You want to play 3025, let's do it. You want to play, crazy customs, cool, fine, whatever. We're sitting down, we're having a good time. But it's a thing that we're kind of just used to at this point. 3025 is the best and we're just like, come on, man.
Well, I've been sort of intentionally doing that to myself. So I only have the beginner box set, a Game of Armored Combat, and then I was donated two mechs as well. So I've been donated this Crusader, and I was donated a Charger to finish off my mercenary company.
Oh, right on.
So I have 12 mechs altogether. That's all I have. I'm literally waiting for the Kickstarter to come in. It's due in the door any day now. But I've specifically sort of kept myself to 30-25 mechs. I've really sort of restricted the clanner games or exposure. I even have the TRO, but I've been intentionally leaving myself ignorant so that as I think I've played 2 or 3 games with clanners now, and I wanted to genuinely have the holy shit moment where it's like, what do you
Right,
mean
yeah.
it can do like,
Sure.
it can jump 7 and it can move 11 and it's got all these guns. It's like, what? I wanted to sort of experience that. I thought that would be fun, so I've been enjoying that.
Have
myself.
you heard the way it was back in the day, like the early '90s when the clans actually first showed up?
I have a bit, yeah, from what people are telling me. So we'll give it some context. Like, do you want to give a context? Because not everyone who's subscribed to my channel is a Battletech player. I say very few of my subscriber base are Battletech players. So if we want to round things off for people so they're not like, what are you on about? Like,
Right. Well, in the very early '90s, BattleTech was hitting what I call a peak, and I've said this. It goes in peaks and valleys, and it was hitting a peak, and the clans had just shown up, and the reason why I couldn't tell you. Maybe they just wanted to shake up the game or create something new. I mean, who knows? But the point is, as at that point, not everybody had access to this stuff, and you would get guys coming into game shops who had been to this event or that event or whatever, and they had gotten some experience with this super experimental stuff, and they'd bring it into their local game shops, and then the players there who are used to just fighting with, regular Warhammer, Battlemaster, all that stuff, get taken down by a Timberwolf, and they're just like, what in the hell is this?
What was that?
And there was this tangible feeling of, who are these guys? Where are they from? What are they doing? What's the gimmick here? And so that was a feeling that I feel like they were really trying to go for, to recreate that feeling this time around with the Invasion Kickstarter. Even though everybody knew what the gimmick was, it's still going to be a whole new group of players who have never had access to this kind of stuff before, and then you bring it to them, and it's like, wow, man, that's crazy. And that was a neat thing back in the mid-'90s to have that.
Well, yeah, I'm finding it interesting. I really am. I'm like, because I think the Kickstarter is like, for me, it was the thing that sort of decided. Like, I tried to get into BattleTech years ago, and I'm finding like the Kickstarter, really helped. The new Game of Armor combat box set, the new plastics.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what brought me into it. Because I tried to get into BattleTech 10 years ago, but it was a case of we have to buy metal mechs from the US, so it's like, having to pay for custom charges
Sure.
and stuff on miniatures, that type of thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I wasn't too enamored with a lot of the sculpts. Now, there are some classic sculpts I really like. I like the crab, and I've always liked the trebuchet for some reason. I've liked the look of it, but at that point in time, I wasn't ready. But with this new generation of plastics, and now the Kickstarter and all the new plastics that are coming, and the quality of the box sets, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It's a
That's
renaissance.
That's what got me going. Yeah, definitely.
And I've said for probably the last year and a half now that BattleTech is getting to be on a peak again. I mean, you haven't hit it yet, and that's the good part about folks like you who are coming into the game now, and you're getting it in right when it's going to crest that hill, and you're going to ride that wave for a long time. That's my prediction anyway. I've just been saying for the last year and a half that BattleTech is coming back in a big way. And part of why we wanted to do Battlebound is I wanted to be a part of that. And for some folks, this is a hobby. It's something they do, and that's cool. I mean, however you choose to play. But for me, this is a passion. This is something that, I mean, if it's a phase, I'm taking a long time to grow out of it. So yeah. So I tell folks that all the time. And I was like, I have to be a part of this renaissance. I just have to do it. And I got to throw my hat in the ring somewhere. And even if it sucks, you know what? So what? It doesn't matter. At least I tried something. I threw it in there. And so that's where it came from is this renaissance that we're going through right now. And I'm super happy for players like you who are just getting into the game, and you have all this stuff available to you, because you're right. 10, 15 years ago, the amount of availability was just not so much there, because we were, like I say, we're going into a valley. So
Yeah.
Now folks like you who are coming in, you have all this stuff, and of course the internet is leaps and bounds faster than it was 15 years ago, and so you have access to all of that stuff online as well, like all the rule books in PDF form, or the fan fictions, or the novellas and stuff like that. It's just fantastic. So I'm getting a kick out of watching everybody else have so much fun with it.
No, I get you. I can understand that. It's like when you're really into a game and you've got an enjoyment out of it, and you sort of want to spread that enjoyment. You know what I mean? It's like you get so much from it, wanting other people to enjoy it as well. We've done that with like 40k and Orcs and 40k. Me
Sure.
and my friends. That's our sort of focus with that. We've done a bit of that, so I can understand where you're coming from in that regard, wanting to see new players. But like when you're talking about the internet and social media and stuff, it's like it's the same here. I'm getting the feeling that Battletech is on the upward trend, and then it's like talking to more veteran players that are here already, and it's like well, how many people play Battletech? And it's like no one really knows. So it's like, okay, well, why don't we create a Facebook group, and then we find out, and sort of if we make videos and that type of thing and sort of promote it a bit. But it's not an easy task. I know that much. Not everyone has the time to do that sort of thing, but
Oh, sure.
it pays dividends when it does happen. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree with that. Absolutely. With this whole thing, myself, I actually got started doing it because here in the States we'd been laid off around the beginning of the year because of the pandemic. And I had a small savings built up anyway, so I thought, well, all right, I've been talking about doing this for the last 6 months at that point. And I says, okay, I want to do this, and I'd already been saving up for a laptop as it was, so I went out and bought it and rolled the dice and said, well, we're going to see what happens. And for me, the benefit has just been learning all of the tricks, like how to make movies and how to make things that are entertaining and interesting. And if you go back and watch the first video we did versus the one we just put out, like you can see the difference. Just in
The
a few
development,
months.
Yeah. But it's funny how like even just like having a YouTube channel and making videos is a hobby within a hobby.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only aspect I don't really like, is I don't want, like, for me, like, YouTube is a case of the channel is there to help me sort of get hobby done, and then if it helps others like get their hobby done as well, then it's like it's win-win for me. But I don't want it to get to the stage where it's like I'd be prioritizing making videos over painting miniatures or getting games in. You know what I mean? It's sort of a supplement for me. But, that's why I do these hobby hangouts. Originally it was to just get me painting.
Yep.
And it helps other people as well. Get some paint on miniatures.
I will admit, you are correct there, that sometimes the making the videos has taken precedence over other things in the hobby. But I learned I can paint stuff while I'm rendering videos. So like, I set this one to render over here, and then I just scoot over to a different part of my desk and go back to what I was doing, because each of these things will take at least an hour or so to render.
Oh yeah, they can do, like, they can take a fair old chunk of time to get sorted and render up. But yeah, like you said, you can keep yourself entertained or busied,
Well,
multitasking, as it were.
It's fortunate that it does, because it gives me the time to do that. Like while I wait, the reason it takes so long, and this is one of those things I don't really get to touch upon that often, is YouTube, and Tex has said this. So if you go back and listen to him, he'll say this. YouTube doesn't like small channels. That's just the way it is. And so in order to skirt around the things that they have in place, you have to render your videos at such an insanely high resolution so that they don't turn out to look like garbage when you post them on YouTube. It looks like it got taken with a potato, and you don't want that. So you have to render it. I think it's 2560 by 1440 is how I have to render them. And even a 5-minute video will take 45 minutes at that resolution to come out.
But that's interesting. I never really thought of it in that regard, but it makes sense. Like, I'll look back at some of the older videos and the resolution does get cranked down on older vids, and I'm like, it's not a case of the technology. I was like, hold on, I remember this being better quality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'll find footage to be able to look at it, and I'll be go, yeah, it just depends. It is a bit weird, the whole algorithm thing.
And the video codec that they give you when you upload, they don't give, if you have a certain amount of subscribers or less, they don't give you the good one. They give you the crappy one. And so that's why you have to render it so high, so that by the time it finishes processing, it doesn't look like it was, shot on a potato.
Potato, yeah. It's like, oh, I've got this 4K camera. What's going on? You
Yeah,
know what I
right?
mean?
That boggled my mind the first time I uploaded the first video. I'm like, dude, this is like a brand new camera. How is it this bad? It didn't look this bad on my computer, and I had to delete it and then go through and look at a bunch of Google searches and stuff to finally figure out, oh, this is how other creators have gotten around all that. So that's what I have to do.
Rendering in higher quality. No, that's a good trick. I'll keep that in mind for future videos and battle reports. I've only done one so far, but I enjoyed it. It was good crack. I'm finding that the problem I'm having now when we're talking about doing videos is I'm wanting to have like a certain standard or effects done, and it's I'm at that threshold where it's like I need to sort of invest the time in to get that done and just have a template set up for a few, you know what I mean? It's like getting your workflow set up. Most of the energy is invested initially, and then once you have that sorted, you're sort of laughing at that point. But then, like I can understand. I just need to dedicate some time to get it all set up at that point.
I did the same thing.
To a standard I'd be happy with. Yeah.
I made templates for certain things, like by the numbers and whatnot. I'd set it up so all I had to do was just drop in pictures and change the data, and then I could redo it.
Yeah. And then you could get it done. But I'm at that stage now where it's like, I need to do that legwork, and then sort of battle reports after that point will be super easy. Even for other like games like 40k and stuff.
Sure.
Once you've got the templates all set up, the legwork, then it'll be like, we could do a 40k battle report, and we've got the structure of it laid out, and but it's all about putting the time in for it as well. But yeah, it can be not demoralizing, but discouraging. You know what I mean? It's like you really have to set yourself to it if you want a good standard.
The interesting thing that I've noticed is how long it takes for you to go from, let's say, a normal amount of subscribers, 150 or whatever the average person has, to just hitting a milestone like 500. That took a long, and this is, we're talking months that this took to hit 500, and that's with guys like Tex saying, hey, go look at his video.
Yeah.
And if you got a fellow like him saying something like that, and it still took a long time, and we're still trying to crawl to 1,000. That's the next big milestone there. And the higher up you go, the more privilege, I suppose, or wiggle room that YouTube gives you insofar as what codecs they give you when you upload, or how fast your videos process, stuff like that. A lot of folks don't know that. The one we just released, the HD version, processed like that, and that's because of our sub count and like how far up we've gotten, whereas 6 months ago it would take an hour to process the high def.
Oh, I get you. Yeah. I've noticed that with like processing as well. It can take longer. We have Nick from Grey Primer was putting a comment there saying, since he switched to the M2 drive for running his operating system and SSD for everything else, his rendering has been so much quicker. Are you doing that yourself? Or are you on mechanical drives, or how's the hardware?
I'll be honest with you, when I dove into all of this, I was a complete neophyte. Like, I had very little idea. I knew how to use a computer, but, I mean, to do basic stuff. Like, that's all I knew. So I had to actually go talk to a friend of mine. If anybody's ever watched the credits, she's always first in the credits, Amber Jordan. And she's like the tech person that I know. And she just told me, here's what you need to buy. You need to buy this kind of computer. You need this kind of, microphone for recording. You should use this program for this. And then she told me all these things, and then I just basically had to Forrest Gump my way through it. and just learn as I went. So basically the setup I have right now is just an Asus laptop running Ryzen 7 AMD graphics card. That's, from Tough Gaming. That's basically all I know about it. I'm a terrible nerd.
No, I'm the same myself. I'm like, more tech friends than anything else. I just ask advice from them. It's like, what one should I be doing? It's like, and they'll be like, well, this one's good for this, and this one, you know, do you want to do gaming? Do you want to do rendering? You know, multiple cores, multiple threads. I'm like, just, you know, deer in the headlights. All right, yeah, no bother. Yeah,
I was the
I'm a
exact
bit
same
like
way.
yeah, bit like that.
That and I could only really afford to go into this on a certain level. Like I was like, I can get a laptop,
Oh yeah,
you know, and I can
yeah,
buy
yeah.
a microphone, but and I paid the money to get a lifetime membership on the editing software that I use, so I have access to all that stuff, the sprites and the elements and the title screens and all that stuff. As much as I'd love to take credit for half that stuff, yeah, no, that was all just things that came with the software that I bought.
Yeah, but there's so much out there though. Like there are so many programs out there now where you can buy into that sort of stuff. It's
Hmm.
all just about price point. Like some people throw crazy money at channels and they're buying like 4 and 5 DSLRs to record footage and like it looks slick as hell. They're looking for like high production value. So you can go pretty like steep in it, but myself personally, that's not really what the channel is for. You know what I mean? It's not what I'm aiming for, but each to their own. I suppose everyone has their own sort of entry point and the amount of coin they can put at it and time they can invest in it or what they want out of it. You know, as long as you're happy with the end result, I suppose.
Oh, I totally agree. I would actually go that route if I had that kind of money. What I told Taylor when we first started this was I want this to be like a TV show, you know. And I have a background in entertainment. I work as a professional wrestling ring announcer, so I've been around that kind of stuff a lot. And I was like, I want to do something like this, but for Battletech. And so that was kind of the idea, is like drive-ins, diners, and dives that Guy Fieri did, except for Battletech. You know, go around,
Yeah.
meet people,
Yeah.
eat at a restaurant, and just get to know, you know, the meat and potatoes of what makes Battletech such a great community is the players. And I wanted to showcase the players and be like, here's the game that we had, and here's what happened, and that kind of thing. So.
Well, look, you have a vision in mind, and I have to say, I'm liking it, man. I'm loving the shows. They're entertainment for me, and the fact that these are guys are traveling around as well. I can see now that you said like diners, drive-ins, and bars, that sort of thing. I can understand the format. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
I totally.
I'm glad you say so, and I want to thank you, because a lot of times with this, I kind of struggle internally, going, maybe this just isn't the kind of show that the Battletech fans want. You know, maybe this is just isn't a show that they're into. And so when I have folks like you that say, no, I really love this, I just go, oh, you know what, thank you, whew, because
Yeah, yeah.
at first I thought, oh man, this show's going to go over, you know, like gangbusters, and we got a really high view count on that first video because of Tex, and I felt so horrible because that was our worst video that we that we put out. But after that, I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll get some traction here. But it's just been this like this like big crawl to get where we are. So I'm like, sometimes I think, man, maybe this just isn't the show that they want to watch. So I don't know. But the fact that you say that, I appreciate that. So thank you.
No, I enjoy it. Like, if I didn't enjoy it, I'd tell you as well. Don't worry.
Yeah, I
I
believe
wouldn't
it.
mince my word. No, but it's yeah. I think you should just like chip away at it. You know what I mean? I think sometimes when people don't see like immediate results with something, it can be a bit discouraging.
Sure.
Especially, I think when a lot of folk don't make videos, they don't like the realization. Like once you make a battle report yourself, then you look at other people's battle reports and you realize the amount of work that goes into something.
Yeah.
And then you know what I mean, when it doesn't get maybe the viewership you're expecting, or you know what I mean, it doesn't blow up as much as you'd like it to. Yeah, I can understand where you'd be left thinking maybe people don't want this sort of thing, but they're slow burners, man. They are slow burners, battle reports. They're fun though, you know.
I enjoy doing them. I wanted to do something kind of different with mine. What I would tell Taylor back in the day was I want this to be like a Solaris 7 highlight reel. I don't know if you're familiar with Solaris 7 or not, are you?
Yeah, Solaris 7.
Okay.
I know enough about BattleTech. Like I've mucked around with various games. over the years. I've been aware of it, but yeah, no, I get you. Not everyone's gonna know about the whole Solaris Servant thing.
The game world, where everybody goes to gamble on, mech fights and stuff like that. And I just thought, oh, well, this will be cool if I can just hit the high points here and not do because there's so many channels that do long play videos, and they do great videos. We did a collaboration with DFA Wargaming not too long ago, and they do a lot of long play Battletech videos, Alpha Strike and Classic, and they have a lot of great graphics, and they have a lot of cool stuff that they do over on that channel. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. I want to be different, because you can't just copy what somebody else did and expect it to work for you. So I wanted to do something, just hit the high points, what's the most interesting things that happened, and then tell a story at the same time. And that's my big thing, is I want to tell stories. I don't, particularly think of it as, this is strictly just talking about strategy. I'm just like, well, I'll put their strategy in there, absolutely, but I want to tell a story as if it were a real thing that was happening.
Yeah. No, I can get you. I can understand that train of thought, all right. For me personally, I've only done one so far, but I wasn't really happy with how it turned out. I got some feedback, and even viewing it myself, I was like, I didn't put enough information at the front end of it, you know what I mean, to sort of inform people, because, like I said, most of my subscribers are orc players, but informing people who aren't into Battletech, maybe it's like, okay, well, I needed to put more information at the start, where it's like, we're going to be playing this type of game with these guys, and this is what they look like, and this is what they are, So for the next one, I want to do that, but that's the groundwork I was talking about, because you'll want to set up templates so that it's presentable to someone, you know what I mean, so they understand exactly what's going on. So I missed out on that the first time around, but it's interesting when you're developing yourself, and then it's also interesting watching other people who are doing YouTube videos and are into the same things as you.
Yep.
Their channel is developing as well. Sharing tips and tricks and that type of thing. That happens quite a lot with our 40k orc community. But I'm liking that the Battletech one is burgeoning. There's more people cropping up. There's a fair few folks you can subscribe to. There's a lot going on. I'm liking it. I'm getting very jealous though. I'm getting very jealous. All these people doing their unboxing videos of the Kickstarter stuff, and I'm like, I'm sitting here, trying to keep myself entertained, painting stuff, and no email yet, no parcel every day. I'm like, every time I hear the door, I'm like, is that parcel for me? Is
right.
Someone at the door? I'm starting to hear phantom knocks. Like, right. I'll hear someone knocking on the door. I'm like, is that for me? Is that? No, not yet. But I've plenty to be painting anyway. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter stuff coming in. I really am.
I'm gonna start painting some of it this coming Monday. A buddy of mine's coming over. He's on a little staycation right now, and I said, we'll get a bottle of whiskey, we'll get some junk food, we'll sit around, we'll just do nothing but shoot the breeze and paint. Man, it'll be great. So we're gonna paint the Kickstarter stuff. It'll be great.
Yeah, sweet, man.
It's one of the players from the game we just posted. Actually, it's Bear. That he's the one coming over.
Ah, all right. I get you. So do you have a lot of players in your local area, or because I know it's bigger in the States. I know Battletech is primarily bigger stateside than it is in Europe, where we are.
You say that, but here's the thing. 10 years ago, Battletech was, despite having been around for 25 years at that point, was almost, it had gone from this huge thing to this virtual unknown quantity, where you could walk into a game store and ask, do they have any Battletech stuff, and the shopkeep behind the counter wouldn't have any idea what you were talking about. And I remember in the mid-90s, and I said this in one of our interviews, I think it was with Cal, where you could... No, it was with Damien, where you could drive to any gaming store within driving distance, and they would have just walls of Battletech stuff, just as much as you please. But over that time, to, I want to say maybe just 5 years ago, it was still difficult to get anybody to even acknowledge that it existed in a game shop. They would just be like, no, nobody really buys that, so we're not going to carry it, and that would be the end of it. And I'm actually going to make a video on this subject. That's one of the next things I want to do is growing the hobby. And one of the things that I had to realize was, if I don't, put myself out there, if I'm not just doing this, then nobody's going to come. And I had this total Field of Dreams moment where I was like, if you build it, they will come. And I thought, oh man, all right, we got to build this. Okay. So what I did is a buddy of mine, I've known him for 20 plus years at this point, had moved up here from California, and I said, hey man, why don't we start playing Battletech again, but just once a month? Because we had played Magic the Gathering every week on Sunday at that time. And I said, well, let's play just one Sunday. And I tell you what, if you don't like it, then I'll never bring it up again, and that'll be the end of it. And he said, oh, yeah, sure, because he'd played before. And we harangued our other two friends into doing it with us, and I told them the same thing. If you don't like it, we won't do it. And we started off with Alpha Strike. And it took one game. Alpha Strike, and they were like, oh yeah, that was great. And it got to a point where they would start asking, like, hey, can we play Battletech instead of playing Magic this week? And I'm like, yeah. So I would set the game up, and we'd do it, and it turned out that we started playing every single week at that point. So the point I'm trying to get to here is I had to start with just 3 of my really close friends, and we went down to a different store called Dice Addiction, which I talk about a lot in the show. And we played there every single week without fail, just the occasional day we wouldn't be there, but 6 to 10 every Thursday, and I was there, and I was content. I could have gone the rest of my life just running that campaign for those 3 players, and I would have been just happy as a clam. But the thing is, and I learned this, is that consistency of being at the store every single week, and that enthusiasm for the game as people would walk up to you and say, hey, what are you guys doing? And you'd say, oh man, this is Battletech, it's a game of armored combat in the 31st century, giant stompy robots, they're going after one another, you sit down, and you could just be like,
there's a mech.
Yeah, here it is. We can get you in right now. And some people would be like, yeah, sure, this sounds cool. And it was just this slow boat to China, but we made it. And so there didn't used to be a lot of players here in Tulsa, but there are now, because we have built this community up, starting off with these 3 players and then just kind of going from there. I found out later that I became known as the Battletech guy in Tulsa, which was great. That's what I wanted. So I was totally fine with that. And as it turns out, the guy that we did for episode 4, Cal, he was from here, and he went into a store here in Tulsa that I don't really go to that often, but he asked about Battletech, and someone said, if you want Battletech, you got to go to Dice Addiction, you got to talk to this guy. And that's how we ended up connecting. And so that's why that episode got made. But so it's a long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but yeah, we didn't used to have a lot of players, but now we have. Before the lockdown hit, we were getting 10 to 12 a week that would come in, and we were half of the store's attendance at that point on Thursday nights. If not more. That's right. Yeah, Taylor says if not more. So. It was wild, and you know what? It did my heart a lot of good to just share Battletech with all those people, and to see the smiles, and give people high fives, and we'd be like, yeah, you hit him in the head, woo, that kind of thing, and even Chip says, oh yeah, when the Battletech guys are in the store, when the dice roll the way they want it to, because you'll hear them outside. And we've had people come and join us just because they're like, yeah, well, I've seen you here every week, and you guys look like you're just having such a blast. I just finally decided to come over and ask you what you were up to, and we've had players come and play with us just based on that alone.
Oh yeah, well that'll happen. If you're seeing people and they've got their mechs painted up, or not even just that, but it's the thing that happens with war games. You see a good spread, you see people enjoying themselves, you know what I mean? You see the eye candy on the table, you're gonna want to go over and see what's going on.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I tell folks, if you provide your players with a colorful, visually stimulating and rich environment, they're gonna want. It's just human nature. They're gonna be like, oh man, I want to get lost in this thing. This sounds really cool. You got your colorful terrain. You've painted all your guys. And then you're telling a story. And that's another big thing. Is I tell folks, give your players a mission so that they have something to work toward and achieve as a team. And then later on, they're like cops after a bust. They're like, oh man, when you came around the mountain and you shot that guy, and I was like right behind you. Oh man, that was great. And they'll hang on to that, and they'll come back because they're like, oh man, what a rush, and they'll be chasing that high, for as long as you're running the game.
Yeah, for as long as they're playing, like,
Yep.
because I have memories like that from playing, like, wargaming in general, like playing 40k. Be like, oh, you're talking to your friend or whatever. Do you remember that time we played that game and, you couldn't kill my orc truck with
Yep.
your 5 battle cannons or whatever, you'll
Yeah.
get those moments. But yeah, I think BattleTech, yeah, is very susceptible to those moments because of those golden BBs that happen every now and then.
Oh, sure. And that
Like
was another reason I wanted to get him on film.
yeah, yeah, so you can remember them because
Yeah.
I've had some already. Like I'm playing. I have a friend who's a veteran. He's been playing a long time, like yourself, and he's running a campaign for me with my mercenary unit, which is the guys I'm painting up here. I just created them. I called them the Black Hand Brigade,
Nice.
and we're playing through like 3025 era. So I can't remember the timeline, but something like I think it's like 3028 or something like that. But we're going through contracts and we're going through dates, So it's like the first contract we do. It's a night fight. I bring out the Shadowhawk. I'm not too enamored with a Shadowhawk. For those watching, this is what the Shadowhawk looks like. And he's like, oh, you can use slow movement or you can, go reckless movement at night time. I was like, oh, okay, second turn, reckless movement. Shadowhawk trips over, falls,
Oof.
criticals itself in the ammo bin, I think, in the torso. So it's
Yep.
like
I've
straight,
seen it.
and that's it. Like that mech's dead, gone. The pilot survived, but it was a good start to a campaign. But I keep going back to it because it's funny.
Oh, sure.
The pilot was a klutz, or I don't know. He must have impaled himself on a fallen tree trunk or something. I
Yep.
have no idea, but it's moments like that are fun. They're definitely fun and memorable. Yeah.
We had a guy fail his piloting skill roll once just entering water, like doing one of the most mundane things, and he rolled snake eyes on it, and we just say you slipped on a pebble and fell in the water. That's what happened. So, and a neat thing about the battle reports is trying to come up with reasons, like you were just saying, trying to come up with, okay, well, what's a reasonable explanation as to why this just happened? And so it's a lot of fun to come up with those, and it's challenging to me as a writer to think, okay, well, how am I going to explain that he fell in the middle of an open field and blew up? Why did that happen? So,
Yeah, that's true. I can understand that, but having run through open fields and being the poor sucker who's found the rabbit hole and nearly done his nutting, you know
yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like there's always something. Yeah,
Yep.
it might look like an open field, but there's always something. You know what I mean?
Yep. Some reason.
There's always some reason. So we'll have a look at the comments section. There's quite a few people have showed up for us. We've got a lot of the usuals. Pale Orc, Angus, Alexander's here. Five Feather, what's the crack, bud? Pokes here. Jude. Hey, Jude. Stonewolf was saying a comment as well. Hey, Stonewolf, you really want to read from one SSD and render to a different one is what he was saying in regards
Oh.
to the hardware. Grey Primer was saying, so weird that you aren't painting orcs right now. He's referring to me. I know, man, but I thought the thumbnail would have given it away that we'd be painting a bit of Battletech today. We'd be having a bit of a Battletech chat. But yeah, no, in regards to painting, I've been distracted recently as well. My other half bought herself some Reaper Bones minis. I think this is a bit here. I don't know. I'm not in. Really into like painting dragons and stuff, but I'll try my hand at anything.
Sure.
So I've been painting along with her. She's like, oh, this one's broken. When it came out, she's gonna kill me. I keep saying this to people. She's like, oh, this one's broken in the packaging. I'm like, no, love, you need to glue it
Send
together,
it, yeah.
because she was expecting all the Reaper Bones to be one piece mini. She's not interested in the building aspect. She's just interested in the painting part. I'll be getting it in the year later. I keep saying. But I've been enjoying painting that along with her, and she's painting her one a different color. She's doing like a nice blue, and it's fun. I like that
Yeah.
the hobby isn't just one aspect. There's different aspects for different people. Like some
Oh,
people,
sure.
if they're into BattleTech, might just be into the lore, or they just like the miniatures, or they just want to paint stuff, or they just want to play the game. I'm sure we all have different levels of the hobby that we're into, but I like the whole package when it comes to BattleTech. I really like the rule set and the gameplay. The new miniatures that are coming out are really good. and I'm getting into the lore as well. I've only read a couple of the novels. I think I've read like the Grey Death Legion trilogy at the start, and then like Wolves on the Border. So I've read a couple of books, and I like it. You know what I mean? I like the lore. I like I like that BattleTech can be whatever you want it to be.
Bingo.
There's so many bolt-on.
Bingo.
Yeah. There's so many like bolt-on rules. Like it sort of harks back to an era of like fan rules were encouraged a lot more back in the day. But with this one, it's like we've written all these supplemental rules as well. So if you don't like a rule, you and your mates can decide on which one to switch out and make the game what you want it to be. Which is, I think it's great fun. You know what I mean?
There's rules now that didn't used to be canon rules, and they actually put them in a rule book because they realized that this is just how players play for the most part, and they decided to leave it. Just said, all right, well, you know what? If that's how you do it, we'll make it official then. And so that's what they did.
Yeah. I get you. I think, there's that sort of, if it's not in a rule book, it doesn't get used type of thing, and I think that's a culture that's developed in wargaming in general. It's not just a BattleTech thing, but I find, I think you have to take that sort of thing into account, where it's like most people, I think, don't just play one wargame. They'll have a few different ones that they'll try, and they'll, you know what I mean? Yeah, they'll have various experiences from different games that they'll unintentionally import into other games, like culturally. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's good. If you're taking the best bits that you find in different war games and you're bringing them into your own gaming experience and your friends, like that's only good in my eyes. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. I'm one of the exceptions, I guess. I always joke with folks. I've only got room for one, and that's it. And
this is another thing, though. You can only spread your time and money out so far, and. Yep. I can understand that. It's like some people will get really, really, really into one game and go all in. I totally get that. And then there's other people who might dabble here and they'll dabble. He said, I have enough forces to play maybe War Machine, and they got themselves like a couple of lances of battle mechs, and maybe they got themselves like a 500-point orc army. They've got a little bit of this and that. You know what I mean? Yep. But it's like the hobby. Like everyone will be into different levels. Of the game itself, you know what I mean? We've got a question here off of Orc Stuff. He's asking, is there a rule against making BattleTech mechs look orky? Not at all.
No.
Not at all. Like Tuck was playing, you were, describe your zombie game.
Oh man. All right. So the Iron Wind Metals, who's the guys that have the license to make the BattleTech minis, made a lance of mechs called the Undead Lance. And it's a set of mechs called the Mortis, the Gravedigger, the Cadaver, and the Exhumer. And they all have some kind of gimmick with them. Like the Cadaver, for example, has spikes pointing out of its shoulder and has a literal skull, like on top of its head. Like if you look at it from a top view, it's got an actual skull there. And the Mortis is carrying this giant, knife in its hand. It's made out of spare parts, but, it's a hatchet, and you can actually, stab somebody with it. And, the Exhumer just has all these crazy, pipes going in and out of its arms, and it's got these come-at-me-bro arms. And so, yeah, there's no rules against that whatsoever. I mean, if you want to do your mech up that way, then that's totally cool. And in fact, there's been characters in the actual canon who have personal modifications that, for example, Rhonda Snord has speakers on the outside of her mech that she plays Elvis music out of, just to confound her opponents. It's a canon Elvis fandom. And so, yeah, there's really no... BattleTech is, you just said it, whatever you want it to be. If that's what you decide you want to have your mech all tricked out to look super spooky, like an orc or something like that, go for it. There's take some, liquid green stuff or, some of the putty green stuff and sculpt it, and boom, you're Bob's your uncle. You're good, man.
And there's rules for like constructing mechs. Like don't the pirate, there's like pirates tend to do that, where it's a case of, their arm got blown off, so they'll bodge on another arm from a different mech altogether if it works, and all this type of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean? the pirates, it's just whatever you swept up off of the floor. Like if it works, then it's good, and that's literally all they care about. Because out in the periphery states, they don't have the kind of access to technology you'd see the great houses in the inner sphere have. So if they find something on the battlefield and they can somehow jerry rig it and connect it and it works, you go with it.
Just
And
duct tape the
sure.
missile launcher to the shoulder and away you go, you know?
And there's lots of mechs out in the pirate factions, as a matter of fact, that have ghoulish characteristics about them, specifically so they can incite fear in their enemy when they come at you with this big double-handed axe and they're going to hit you with it. Yeah, that'll freak you right out.
Yeah, scare you off. Scare you away from your supplies so they can rub it all and away they go.
Yep. So yeah, that's totally a thing.
There you go, folks. There you go. We have the hobby corners popped up as well. What's the crack, the hobby corner? We have Sci-Fi. He's asking, does Tuck do a Solaris Gladiator series?
I haven't, but it's in the works. It's something that we want to do. I've done it in the past for the tournaments here in town at the Tulsa Battletech League. We had a Solaris 7 fight where only physical attacks were allowed. And so yeah, that was wonderful. It's a takeoff of a situation they did in a book called Main Event, official BattleTech book. And I wanted to do something like that, and so it was just punches and kicks and charges and all kinds of things, and we did that. So I'm looking. I'm gonna throw this one out there. One of the things that we got in the works is something like that we're gonna do called Friday Night Derby Fights, and it's just gonna be nothing but urban mechs just going at it, and it'll be kind of like Monday Night Football meets BattleTech. So
yeah. For those who don't know, the Urban Mech is kind of like the mascot of BattleTech, sort of, you know.
He's that unofficial, like everybody points to the Mad Cat or the Warhammer as the portrait of the fandom, but unofficially, yeah, you're right. It's the Urban Mech. Everybody just loves that thing. It's just the total David versus Goliath, story that you tell when you get into one of those.
Yeah, it's not amazing, the mech. I'm sure people have done amazing things in it, but it's a case of, if anybody knows World of Tanks, it's sort of like the Tog 2 in that regards, where it's just funny. You know what I mean? It's so bad, it's good. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Not that the Urban Mech is totally bad. It has its place. It's just
it's a very specialized machine. You pretty much have to, don't do it in your average open, fight in the mountains. If you have them in a city and you're rocking that AC-20 variant, you take out an assault mech in one of those guys.
Oh, you could, yeah, you could headshot anyone or even just mess someone's day up. Like it's kind of like the noisy cricket of BattleTech in that regard. It's just
that is the perfect description of it.
It is though. It's just like
that is fantastic. Hold on, I gotta.
It's described as a trash can on legs, and it's got a really big gun bolted on one side and a really pilly one on the other, and it barely moves.
He says the Urban Mech is like the noisy cricket of BattleTech.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
write that one down for the books.
Hashtag no lies detected.
Yep.
Sorry, I had to tell. I was too good. I had to tell.
No, share the love, man. Share the love. Now I'm waiting for I think I ordered an extra one. I know with the Kickstarters there was did everyone get one over a certain pledge or something like that? I'm not too sure, but I think I've got at least 2 coming, so I'd like to do them up in like the police colours. What was it? Was it MechWarrior Online where they had the skin where it was like the SLDF cops or something like that? I'd like to do, yeah.
I know Bishop Steiner has done some fan art from the Urban Mech before he was official, and it was called Deputy Dog, I think, the Z-Chang Constabulary or whatnot, and he painted it up like a police car decked out with the lights and everything, and it was super cool. And I want to paint one of those because that'll be in the videos I was talking about, the Friday Night Derby fights, is every Urban Mech is going to be a different character. So, you'll have a cop, or you'll have, Hulk Hogan, I don't know, something like that. It's in development right now. We're still working out the kinks in that one. But yeah, the cop one
ideas, huh?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I like to joke that this is the house of ideas. We throw a lot of them around, see what sticks.
Yeah, well, that's it, man. But that's it. But that's what I like about BattleTech, though, is you could deal with it. We could literally do like a 40k mashup, because there's various scenarios that have been done officially, where it's like, what's the Nebula California and stuff like this. I've only peripherally heard of like weird things that happen or there's like zombie events. But you did like a zombie event, but wasn't there like a Catalyst one that was released?
The Catalyst one they did was called Necromo Nightmare, and it was something kind of similar, and it's a little bit what inspired me to do that zombie game, because I read it and I played through it and it was cool in the gang, but I was just like, okay, well, what if I want to take this and make it like true ridiculous horror story levels, and what can I do? And that's how I came up with that. But Necromo Nightmare is available for free. If you just Google it, you can find it and download it and then use it in your game.
And there are several resources that you can get on the Catalyst store for free. There's even a colouring book. I think that's free as well, isn't
it?
Yep, the
sure
colouring book that came out of the Kickstarter.
You just download
There's maps there. There's some there's a couple of bits and pieces for source books. Like they have rules for using World War II tanks in Battletech. There's all these different bits and pieces that have developed over the years. There's a wealth of stuff there, and you can buy yourself PDFs as well. You can buy them at a pretty reasonable.
And if you're looking for some interesting maps to spice your game up, aside from what they have officially, if you hit up Instagram and you look for a artist called Kat Wilder, that's K-A-T, I think W-Y-L-D-E-R, she does the official maps for Catalyst, and she makes maps just on her own, and there's a lava one that she did, and oh man, it's fabulous. So if you want some just extra maps that you're not going to find in the official stuff, check out Kat, man. She does great work.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't. I'll have to check that out later. Sweet.
I bought a few maps from her. She's cool.
Oh, she sells maps.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like she sells the PDF, and then what you do is you just take it down to your local print shop, and it's not copywritten or anything, because it's just basically a hex map with a fun design on it. It doesn't say Battletech anywhere on it, so you can take that and then not get any hassle about copyright or whatever, because here in the States that's a big deal. I don't know how it is over there.
Oh yeah, in Europe as well. Yeah.
They straight won't print anything if they even suspect that it might be, a copywritten material. But with these maps, you can just print them, and there's no anything. There's no issue with it.
Are the hexes numbered on them, or?
I believe so. I can't remember. No, I don't think the hexes are numbered. I think she does one with no hexes, so if you want to play Alpha Strike, you can do that. And then there's one with hexes, so if you want to play Classic, you can do that too. But I don't think they're numbered, though. I'd have to look at it.
What would be the best way for you to describe... Now, I haven't played Alpha Strike, but what would be the best way to describe to people the difference between Alpha Strike and just the game of Armored Combat or classic Battletech or whatever you want to call it? How would you describe both games? I'm going to jump really quick to answer the door while you're talking about that. All right?
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds.
Alpha Strike is like the quick and the dead. I mean, what you have with Alpha Strike is you take the average Battletech record sheet, which is on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and you shrink it down to a playing card size. And all you have is the movement, the amount of damage it does, and how much damage it can take, and whether or not it can do anything funky, and that's basically the end of it. And as opposed to moving by hexes, you move by inches. So a lot of Warhammer players will be more familiar with the inch system, ruling out and then saying, okay, I'm going to move here. And they have streamlined the experience with Alpha Strike so much that you don't choose what weapons you fire. You just say, I want to shoot that guy. And if I shoot him, he does this much damage. Okay. And if I hit and he's dead, clear him off. So you move, pew, 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 clear off the dead mechs, and you start again. And Alpha Strike is really great for large-scale games. So if you wanna play just a lance, so 4 mechs versus another 4 mechs, I say play Classic. But if you're looking for a game where you want to take a company, so 12 mechs versus another 12 mechs, and you want to throw some aerospace assets in there, and you want to put a couple of pieces of armor on the board, some tanks, go Alpha Strike, man. You can knock that out, in one evening. But in Classic, because of the way that it is regimented insofar as movement and shooting and things like that, it would take you a lot longer to do, because you have so much more nuance there. You have so much more choice as to what you're going to shoot or how you're going to not shoot, or this, that, and the other. secondary targets and things like that. Whereas in Alpha Strike, all of that is taken away, and you just go, I want to shoot that guy. Do I hit? Yes or no? Okay, and then you move on, and it quickens the pace of the game a lot. So that would be my answer as to what's different about it. Is Alpha Strike is great for big games. You want to take that epic, struggle between two large forces, and they're going to go at it, and you want to throw all this extra stuff in there. Yeah, man, do it. But like, you want to play Classic, you can play Classic on that scale. It's just going to take you a little bit longer.
Yeah. Where do you find like Classic plays best, like number-wise per side? And does it? I suppose it depends on the number of players participating as well, though.
Well, I mean, somewhat. It really depends on how much time you have available to you. For me, when I go down to Dice Addiction, we have approximately 4 hours. I say on the safe side, more like 3.5 hours, because we still have to pack up. And so if you're trying to knock out a game in 3.5 to 4 hours, I would suggest no more than 4 versus 4. Because I always say that it takes about an hour to kill one mech, depending on the size, of course. But so if you got 4 versus 4, you should be able to knock that fight out, or at least come to a conclusion where you're reasonably certain who's going to win that fight before the night is over. But if you have like my buddy's coming over on Monday, and you just have all day, like 8 hours or something like that, the sky's the limit. And even in that vein, where I only had 4 hours to do it, we still played 12 versus 12, but we just had to split it up into 2 separate sessions. So we just took pictures of where everything was and then set the battlefield up the same way the next time. And we were able to knock that game out in 2 sessions. So it just really depends on how much time you have available to you and how long you want to spend doing it. But I would just budget for about an hour per mech that you're... and you only add that in once. So if you have 4 mechs on your side, I would expect that game to take about 4 hours.
So if people are looking to get like a 2.5, 2 hour game, 2 mechs a piece, or...
Yep, go 2 on 2. Or take a couple of big chunky, brawlers, like maybe an Atlas or a King Crab or something like that. And then it'll take you longer to actually be able to fire at one another. And then when you do, you can take a lot more damage. So, you could you just take one of those, super thick, mechs, and that'll take you about the same time. Or 2 on 2. Shucks, man. I mean, and another thing, and what was it? Bishop Steiner said this, when you have really experienced players going at it, like that same game that might take a relatively inexperienced player a lot longer to play, the 2 people who have been doing this for so long that everything is just automatic at that point, they can knock that same game out in about half the time. So
and then lighter mechs again, like I find lighter mechs tend to like fold pretty easily at times. So if you're looking for a really quick game,
yep,
you can usually, if you did like out of the Game of Armor combo box set, if you were playing like a Locust against a Commando, like, I wouldn't expect that game to be more than an hour, probably less, a lot less. You know what I mean?
The nifty thing about Battletech, and see, I don't play any other war games, so I don't know how it works, but with Battletech, if you want the game to go faster, just lower the skills. Just be like, okay, well, the pilots in these machines are elite now instead of regular. Give your guys really low gunnery skills, and then you're guaranteed to get a lot of hits. And if that's what you're looking for, I mean, Battletech's got you covered. Just give your guy a gunnery skill of 1. Okay, I'm pretty sure he's going to hit most of the things he shoots at. And the game will speed up exponentially based on that.
It's very malleable in that regard. I do like that, but it not only can you increase the skills of pilots, therefore making your mechs more efficient on a battlefield and actually hit a lot more, but the rules reflect that in the cost of units.
Yep.
So, if you're coming up against an elite guy, there's a multiplier in the game for elite pilots, because elite pilots will make mechs so much better because they'll get so much more out of them. You know what I mean? So it takes that into account as well. So that's another aspect of it that I really like.
What I say to new players is I always say focus on the fundamentals. Just if you learn the calculation of the number to hit, which is really easy. I love the Gator method that they came up with. That's great. So you learn that, and then once you know that off the top of your head, and you understand how movement and firing works and all that stuff, then maybe start thinking about, okay, well, let's look at battle value and how to make this, a more nuanced experience. But I just say work on the fundamentals first, and then once you know that, then just move on to something else.
We have one of our viewers asking, Alexander Warren is asking, can you kit bash your Battletech miniatures?
Absolutely. That's not a problem at all, and in fact, many people do so. The thing is, a lot of the clan miniatures, because of the nature of OmniMech technology, a lot of the clan chassis have many different configurations, and so players over time, because there wasn't always a set of sprues, that's the word I was looking for, to connect with your mech to make whatever configuration you wanted. So people would just go through and find something that looked really close to what they wanted, and they just stick it on there. And at the tabletop, it's not a problem at all. People just look at that and go, "Oh man, that's super cool. What'd you do? How'd you get that?" And you just say, "This is a Mad Cat C" or whatever, and there you go.
The impression I get with Battletech is it's not a WYSIWYG game, so there seems to be a lot more freedom with it in that regard when it comes to modeling.
When it comes to WYSIWYG and Battletech, I haven't talked to the creators personally, so I don't know, but I have a feeling, so I strongly suspect that they said, we just want people to be able to play and not worry so hard about, well, you don't have this exact miniature. So you can use anything. I mean, I've seen people use chits of paper and just say, this is, as long as you know what the forward facing is, you could use a quarter if you draw an arrow on it, so you know what way it's facing, and then it doesn't matter. And that comes into the kit bashing aspect. So if you wanted to make something that is a custom mech that you made yourself and you put it together, great. Battletech is all about inclusivity and the ease of inclusivity and being able to just sit down at the table and have fun with your buddies. I've heard it referred to as a beer and pretzels game, and I sort of kind of agree with that, but at the same time, it's very much like, oh, you built this thing and you just want to try it out? Heck yeah, well, let's do this, and that's how it is.
Give it a bash and see how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it is. There's a lot of freedom in it. There really is. It's just up to you and your gaming group and your buddies what you want to do with it.
Yep. It's kit bashing is not just allowed, it's also highly encouraged. The community loves that kind of thing. So, in fact, there's a guy I know that I paint stuff for. His name is Justin King. He sends me kit bashed miniatures all the time, and I'm just like, where did you get this part? Or what is this one supposed to be? And he tells me, and I go, oh, wow, that's interesting. And yeah, they just look all kinds of different. And there's a guy, what was it, on Battletech International Painting and Customs. His name is Dylan Majbrush. And he sculpts things out of Sculpey, Bondo, green stuff, whatever he has on hand. I don't know exactly what all materials he uses, but he kit bashes stuff left and right. And if you go look on there, he's got all kinds of cool stuff that he posts regularly, in fact.
So there's plenty of scope in the game of doing what you want. Like, I was reading over some of the construction rules in one of the, is it tactical operations? Yeah, one of the tactical operations books was giving me examples of somebody constructing their own vehicle.
Yep.
For a game, and it was like, building airships and cargo space, and if you wanted to put armaments and all this type of stuff, or if you wanted to build a lander for moving drop ships in your spaceport, you can make stats for it.
Yep. Anything that exists in the Battletech universe, they have construction rules for that.
It's interesting. It's like, it's a war game when you initially come up to it, but it's a war game on the surface. But the depth of it, it's like a role-playing game's level of depth that you can go into if you want to. You don't have to. You can just stay on the surface of a war game and just stick with whatever configurations there are for mechs, and each mech will have multiple weapon loadouts, and you'll just print off your sheet, and that's you, like, happy days. But the depth of the game as well, like, it would have like role-playing game level of depth. Like, the only thing I can really think of that I've experienced personally would be like Dungeons and Dragons or such. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where they'll have lots of expansions and bolt-ons and all these, rules constructions. If you want to do this, you want to do that. So there's a wide scope, but there's also a lot of depth to the game. that I like.
See, you're right. You can come into this as just a war game and say, okay, this is all I ever want to do, and great, doesn't matter. But there's some people who are intense gearheads, and they just really want to know what makes everything tick. And BattleTech has you covered there too. You want to build a submarine? Okay, we'll figure it out. They got in the tech manual. They got ways to do that. So I mean, it's all there for
your
you.
own variants.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure there's, you know, if you go looking for the technical readouts or the sheets for submarines, I'm sure there's some out there.
Oh, there is, yeah. Naval combat is a thing.
Yeah, there's plenty of bits and pieces, space combat, naval combat, and that's another thing I like about it is you can have combined arms fights, so you don't have to just see mechs on the battlefield. You can have your aero fighters, you can have like your support vehicles, you can have platoons of troops on the ground, and then the rules that allow you to interact on all those various levels.
A lot of folks write tanks off. They don't get as much love. I feel like
tanks
are great.
Tanks are they're like, especially when they like surprise ambush you, like their hidden deployment. My friend has a my friend has a terrible habit of surprise hetzering me. It's like, oh look, there's a hetzer, so stay away from it. It's now vehicles are fun as well.
The big meme there is the SRM carrier that comes around the corner.
Oh.
Now you're in for it.
Oh, I know.
Shrek PPC carrier. Forget it.
Death by sandpaper, that's what that is. It's oh my days.
And the fact that the vehicles have all their heat sinks built in, so these guys can just be like, they don't ever have to think about heat. Whereas you're in a mech and you gotta manage all that. The vehicles don't have that problem.
Yeah, I like that they have their own sort of feel to them as well, the vehicles. Modeling for Advantages asked me a question. He's like, did you plan your Orc War Boss's premiere release during your stream? It's more scarier than one man can handle. Yeah, sorry about that, Modeling for Advantage. It's just sort of the way things panned out in regards to dates. This being a Sunday, but also it's the first of a month. So you're getting like a live hobby hangout stream, and you got a War Bosses video that premiered at the same time. So it's like all the hobby love. What's not to like? Good to see you knocking around Kaiser. I take it's Kaiser for the Modeling for Advantage. That's another good channel. Those boys over in Modeling for Advantage. They look at a lot of different war games as well. A lot of the Warlord games. And they were doing some kit bashing for Orc trucks there. I was watching their video. Some really nice kit bashes, some really nice stuff. Yeah, it's Kaiser. Kaiser, the man at the helm himself. What's the crack, Kaiser? But yeah, it's I like that though about wargaming in general. Is there's
somebody just sent me a Halloween game. Somebody else was doing one. I'm looking it up for you. Go ahead. Don't let me stop you.
No. But I like that about wargaming though. It's there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there, and I think like when I was, growing up in just playing Games Workshop products, you know what I mean? I think you sort of don't realise, like I can only really speak for myself personally, but I had the blinkers on. But I think I'm at a stage now where it's like I'm looking to paint and experience different games. I'm looking for me gaming experience. I'm more happy to sort of try different things and see. Ooh, do I like how this plays? Maybe I like how Bolt Action plays.
Right.
I like how Battletech plays. You know what I mean? Different games will probably give you different vibes. You might like the mechanics in one game set, and you prefer them to ones in another game. But then there's nothing stopping you from having fun with your mates. And
I'll be honest with you. If I were to get into a different war game, Bolt Action, it looks really cool. I really enjoy the World War II aspect of it. Another one that looks really cool is Conflict 47. That's weird, like that's World War II, but like with weird stuff. Like, the Axis powers come up with werewolves and stormtroopers and all kind of weird stuff. And, it's plasma cannons and whatnot. Now that I'm like, hey, if I were to get into another one, that might be something I would take a look at, because I believe Conflict 47 is the Bolt Action
system.
System. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's by Warlord. It's from what I gather, it's the Bolt Action system. It looks it does look fun though.
One I'd like to give a shot is have you ever heard of H.G. Wells' Little Wars?
Yes, actually. Yeah,
I would
yeah,
love
yeah.
to
I've heard of
love to
Little
try
Wars.
that. I'd love to try
Give it a
that.
bash.
And a fun fact about Little Wars is Peter Cushing was famously a player of Little Wars, Grand Moff Tarkin from Star Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I've seen oh, what's it, Pate or something? The videos of Peter Cushing sitting down in like his pipe and like his
Yeah.
dressing gown, and he's researching, and he's made he did he not he made soldiers out of paper or something like that. He made them from scratch himself.
Yep, and he
Like
painted them,
he
and
was
he was a very serious player. He took it very seriously. Him and a bunch
fair
of
play
other
to him,
fellas his age would get together in pubs and whatnot, and that's where they would do it, I guess. So that's one of the reasons I want to get that book and just be like, oh man, if I can play this on my living room floor, that might be kind of cool. To get some army men, you know, like go to the store and dollar store and buy a $2 plastic bag of 30 army dudes. Okay, now let's figure out how we can do that, you know, and then you have a battle from Toy Story.
Why not, man? Why not? Yeah. Yeah, I think I played that once on a games convention like 10 or 12 years ago. A long time ago. I had a bash at Little Wars, I think, from what I remember. Just trying to remember like playing so many different games.
Yeah, that's basically why I just stick to the one, so I don't have the less I have to think about, the better I'll be doing. I'll tell you that. Just that's what I always say in wrestling. Like, don't tell me the outcome. I don't want to know. Just that way, when I see it, I'll genuinely be shocked.
This is true. It'd be helpful if I kept the mech I was painting in the middle of the camera and not off to the side. You know, note to self for future reference. But there you go. We have one of the Kaiser from Modeling for Advantage. He says, "I'm thinking about that pile of plastic mechanics in a box under the bed," and then he was saying mechs, not mechanics, predictive text. So the Kaiser has some mechs himself. This is what I find funny as well, Tuck, is you'll be talking about Battletech, and this has happened with some of my friends as well, like Sci-Fi said to me, I'll be talking about Battletech, I'll be like, oh, Battletech, yeah, this is cool. And they'll be like, oh, I've some of them in my attic, or I've some out in the shed or the garage, or you know what I mean? You'll get some people who've mothballed their stuff, and they'll dig it up, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I have stuff. So I think it's kind of easier to get people to play in that regard as well.
Oh,
Or a
sure.
lot of folk do be surprised. The local gamers here, one of the guys I know, Mark, was saying to me that what tends to happen is people will see them playing Battletech and think that the game has been dead and gone. They're surprised kind of to see it being played, which I find funny as well. But it's like I think it's surprising. Like I personally find it surprising that so many people have played it. But then that sort of tells you it's, you know, it was so popular at one time when you were talking about how it crested and then it went through sort of like a trough in popularity, and then it's on the rise again. It's just adds to the dynamic of it, I suppose. You wouldn't really know with some people. You know, they might walk up to you and be totally new, or they might walk up to you and be like, oh, Battletech, I remember this.
Right. Yep. And it's because it's been around for so long. I hear that a lot. Not as much as I used to, though. We used to hear it, gosh, on the Battletech International forum every other week. It was LOL, dead game, you know, that kind of thing. And I would just say, look, man, Battletech will be dead when I'm dead, because then I won't be playing it anymore. So that's it. You know, that's it. And it won't ever be dead as long as there are a group of dedicated people who I like to call lifers who stick around. And that's really why we're having this resurgence at this point. As I always say, that the lifers are the people who carried the torch. I want to say between probably 2005 up until just recently, it was in a valley. And that's where you had things like the Dark Age, and then there just wasn't a lot of development. When WizKids got a hold of it, they just started. That's where you see classic BattleTech, you know, because they tried the Clicks version and it didn't work out, and it was almost like the new Coke of BattleTech. And some folks liked it, but a lot of folks didn't, and so they brought it back and called it Classic, and then all of a sudden there you go. And it's coming back now, but it's those people that carried that torch that got it there. So I don't think BattleTech's ever been dead, personally.
It's always been sort of ticking over. It just hasn't been in the limelight as much.
It was like I say, it was in a valley, and I don't deny that. But at the same time, there were still people that were doing it, and even if it wasn't popular, they were doing it. But now, it's starting to come back, and it's because of those people. So when they put that Kickstarter out, and everybody just went, balls to the wall on it and went ape, and we got what, $2.5 million. So
yeah, I won't comment about how much I threw at it, but yeah,
I went Galaxy Commander, and I added on maybe about $70 worth of extra stuff. I didn't go too crazy, as crazy as I would have wanted to if I'd had that kind of money at that time. I sold off an item specifically so I could back at Galaxy Commander status, because they were doing that canon character thing where if you backed at that level, you also got art to go with it. And so I in fact, it just came out in the pilot deck. Here it is. That's
hold on. He's doing a close cam. Wait for it. Close cam.
Woo! That's the character that I created. So,
cool.
But others are still waiting, and you might see them in source books, or you might see them somewhere else, or in a novel or whatnot. But I just backed at that level because I got the art with it. So.
Yeah, no, I did the level where you got a canon character, but you didn't get art, and I just I did it for my grandfather who passed away like back in 2010. But I thought it'd be a nice way to remember him.
Absolutely.
I was like, have him as a jump ship or a drop ship captain somewhere. I thought that would be, kind of cool.
Sure.
That sort of thing. But it's I like how a lot of people have done that sort of. They've done that for the canon characters. If they haven't put themselves in, maybe they've done family members or characters they've created, or lots of different bits and pieces. It's I think it was a good idea on Catalyst's behalf for the Kickstarter. It's good crack.
Just being able to say, I have somebody that's in that universe. To me, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, it's imagine in other gaming systems you were able to do that. I think quite a lot of people like that idea.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has ever tried anything like that or not.
I don't know. I'm sure it probably has happened, but I don't know to the best of my knowledge. Off the top of my head, we have more comments coming in. Great promise. I just subbed to you there, Kaiser. Sweet. So there's something to each other, modeling for advantage. Good stuff as well. Don't forget to subscribe to Battlebound and get some more of that sweet Battletech action. The battle reports that they're doing. The Halloween one was, I thought it was. I like the skit you did at the start as well.
Oh, the tryhard zone.
Like, where he thinks he's in heaven.
Yeah.
And then the realization dawns on him. I was like, I see what's going on here.
Interesting. We filmed that in a actual ghost town out here in Oklahoma called Pitcher. And Pitcher was a lead mining town around the turn of the century, and the lead produces a toxic byproduct called chat, and it started seeping into the groundwater, and people started to get poisoned, and the government was like, all right, GTFO, but a lot of folks dug their heels in and stayed. And in fact, it wasn't really truly ghosted until about 15 or so years ago. And so a lot of those buildings and those houses and stuff, they're still there, stripped of course, of everything of value by thieves and whatnot. But in that building where we filmed that scene, it actually does say "Welcome to Hell" on the wall, and we had nothing to do with that. That's what it says. And so that's what gave me the idea to do it, was because I had visited that town some years ago, and I remembered that, and I was like, well, as long as it still says that there, then we can still do this. So, and it did. So, all right, cool. That's where we did it.
Yeah, because I was wondering, I was like, where in the hell are these guys? Because there's like, all these buildings and
What'd
stuff.
You say, Taylor?
What you don't know is that I had a can of spray paint in the back of my car just in case it didn't.
Oh my God. Taylor says I had a can of spray paint in the back of my car just in case it didn't still say that. But it did. So, yeah, that's an actual ghost town, and I'd heard about it on YouTube, and I was like, oh, this is in driving distance, and that's when I went to check it out originally.
And you just give it a bash.
Oh, I love stuff like that. Been to the Salton Sea out in California. It's very Fallout-like, very Fallout-esque.
Is that another settlement or?
Oh yeah, the Salton Sea is a ghost town out on the California coast. At actually it's more inland, I should say. It's by a town called Nyland. What happened is there was this just massive agricultural screw up of epic proportions around the turn of the century, and they had diverted millions of gallons of water accidentally from the Colorado River into this basin in the middle of the California desert, basically. And all of a sudden, there was this massive oasis out in the middle of nowhere that didn't used to be there because it took them 2 years to stop the flow of water. So it's this massive body of water out there, and what happened is real estate developers said, hey, we're going to capitalize, and got out there, and it started a boom town. And, this is in the 1950s, and so they had these, ads, and come live the good life out on the Riviera, that kind of thing. But the thing is, there's nowhere for that water to go. And it's fed by agricultural runoff. So what happened is the salinity of the water kept going up and up and up and up and up and up. And fish would start to die from botulism poisoning and things like that. And there would be just massive die-offs, and the whole town smells like a rotten egg. It really does. And people started leaving in droves. And if you were to go there now, it just looks like these people just dropped whatever they couldn't carry and left. And so there's houses out there, and there's bathhouses and beachfront stuff, and just left out on the beach. And the sand isn't sand anymore. It's like this crusty salt. Like if you walk on it, you don't sink into it.
Yeah.
And
so
I wanted to go out and film something out there too, but that's a lot more expensive.
It's a longer way out.
Yeah,
I have one of the viewers commenting, asking, did I drill my barrels? Not all of these are guns. They're mostly lasers and like SRM launchers. So this one here on the Thunderbolt, that big gun there is a large laser. So what needs to happen is I actually need to paint these up to look like lenses. These 3 here in his chest are the med lasers. I need to paint these up to look like lenses. They are not actually gun barrels. The one on the Shadowhawk, on the other hand, this one, could probably get barreled. That's an AC5. That's sort of like an autocannon. Not sort of, it is an autocannon.
Yep.
That one could be done, but not all of the guns are ballistics. So there's a lot of like lasers and missile launchers. That's a missile launcher, or machine guns on the back, like that detail there on the back of the Thunderbolt. That's 2 machine guns. So it's like good luck to drilling them.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you could try, and fair play to you if you can, but this is just a Thunderbolt. I'm just trying to put a little bit more paint on them, get it a bit more even, and then throw a wash on them, get them painted up.
The lens effect you were talking about, I do something similar to that. So I don't know if you've ever tried any of the Citadel gemstone paints. Have you ever tried those?
No, I haven't. I just sort of paint. When I paint it up, I like start on a base red, and then I go up into like various oranges, and then do the speck white on top.
Yep.
I have some gloss varnish I want to try. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm just experimenting with it and having fun. The one I'm really looking forward to doing is the Battlemaster cockpit.
Yeah, that's super fun because it's so big. It's pretty easy to get in there.
Yeah, it's a pretty big canvas to work on. Do up the layers and then do a bit of gloss varnish on it. So yeah, I look forward to doing that one up. That'll be fun. And yet again, that's a PPC, not a machine gun. So that needs to be done up in with a lens effect at the end, but in sort of a blue.
One of the things I love about the new sculpts is, for the longest time, I was heavily against the quote unquote MechWarrior Online look. Like, I don't know if you've seen them, but to me, I was just like, this just doesn't do it for me the way that the old miniatures did. And they took and redesigned these miniatures that you're getting in the box sets now, and they are just the perfect like mishmash of the old school and the new school, and they just put them together like that, and it just comes out, it's some of the best quality and some of the best looks that Battletech has had in at least 25 years, as long as I've been playing it.
Oh, well, you got to lend up some of the older miniatures off of a friend. I think it's like the 25-year anniversary box set. But some of the absolutely horrendous plastics and the difference between them, so
Yeah.
viewers can see the difference.
Those were rough. They updated those when Catalyst got a hold of the property. I believe the ones you're talking about were a WizKids thing, but when Catalyst got a hold of it, they updated. It was the same sculpts, but they were much cleaner.
Yeah, so I'm holding the new Atlas to the left and that Atlas to the right in regards to what plastics there were. But there were good plastics as well. There were the Lance packs, wasn't there, that Catalyst did? And
Yes.
that's what my charger is from. And they're actually pretty crisp.
Oh yeah,
I like them.
I
like those plastics.
for the longest time, those were the best, things that I was like, oh man, these are great. You get your little Alpha Strike cards in them, and you get the 4 miniatures for one cost, and usually it was like $10 or $15. So for the cost of one metal mini, you could pick up an entire Lance, and then it would have the Alpha Strike cards, so you could literally play those miniatures the second you opened up the package.
Oh yeah, you just needed like the core rulebook, and then you had everything else then,
Yep.
like miniatures and then specific stats for it.
Yep.
And it's what, like, how much is a Lance pack now? I think they're going like
Those
25 or something.
Yeah,
newer ones.
it's all secondary market now. The old one that we're talking about anyway, those ones are hard to find now. But the new ones that they just put out, I believe about $20 USD or so is the price range there, and
And are they,
that's for 4 minis,
yeah.
and it's the
Are
high
they
quality
coming
stuff.
with the? It's the same quality stuff as this. Are they coming? Sorry, I keep chatting over you there. Are they coming with Alpha Strike cards?
Yes,
I know they're coming with cards, but I wasn't too sure which ones.
yes, and that was a thing I was just fixing to touch on, is that I'm super glad to see that Catalyst is still including those Alpha Strike cards with these packs, because that means if you're a new player who's never heard of this before, right, and you show up to a game, or not a game, but you show up to a store and someone's playing a game of Alpha Strike, and they're like, you can jump in right now if you want to, and that's an idea you're keen to, you go, oh, I can just buy this pack right now, crack it open, and boom, you're playing instantly because you have those Alpha
Yeah.
Strike cards.
Because the boxes contain everything you need to
Yep.
to play when it comes to Alpha Strike.
Yep.
You don't really need much else in regards to the contents of the box to play even like classic Battletech. You just need to get your hands on a PDF of the mech sheets and print it off, and away you go. You're laughing. You know what I mean? You don't need to buy like a codex, or you don't need to buy a lot of supplements. You just need the mech, the miniature, the record sheet for it, and just your core rulebook. But that's probably, I'd say, the bare minimum you'd need to play the game. And when it comes to like the Game of Armored Combat box set, you get rules in there, you get the sheets, you get everything you need to play a game.
Yep.
And straight
And
out of the box, like.
I tell folks with that one, that's one of my biggest selling points. Like anytime I try to tell a new player how to get into this, because wargaming has that stigma where you expect it to be hella expensive just to buy in on the most basic level. Whereas in Battletech, if you spend that $60 and you get that Game of Armored Combat set, you've got your 8 minis, you've got dice, you've got rules, you've got map sheets, you've got extra cardboard cutouts for more mechs if you want, you've got extra terrain, you've got fiction, map of the inner sphere. You get everything you need to play conceivably for years and years and years without having to ever purchase anything else unless you just want to, because the amount of combinations you can make out of just what comes in the box would take you that long just to run through them before you'd start repeating yourself. So that $60 will get you on down the road. For if you're a casual gamer, you could probably just play on what's in the box forever. If you don't play every single week and you're not constantly running through new combinations of mechs, if you only play, once a month or something like that, I would imagine it would take you a long time before you start repeating combinations and go, okay, now I need something else. Whereas games like X-Wing, for example, when you buy their starter kit, you get 2 guys, but you could only play on that for so long before you're like, I got to have something else here. And the standard Game of Armored Combat set doesn't have that issue.
This is true. There is the beginner set, though, for Battletech, where you'll get 2 mechs. But this is what I find interesting about a mech. So you'll own a miniature, you'll own one physical miniature. But for that miniature, there might be God knows how many variants. A lot of them have a lot. You might have 6 or 7 different loadouts for that specific mech. And all you need to do to play those different variants is tell your opponent that's what it is and print off the sheet.
Yep.
And that's it. So there's a lot of reusability in it as well.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's where the kit bashing aspect comes in. If you decide that you've got, let's say, a Battlemaster miniature, there's a variant of the Battlemaster that carries a lot of missiles as opposed to the PPC. I believe it's the 3S. And you can find some missile pods on Iron Wind Metals and order them and cut off the PPC barrel if you want and just kind of go to town with it and say, boom, now it's this thing, it's this specific miniature. It's the 3S Battlemaster now. Or you can do like you just said and just have the miniature itself and say, this is what it is, here's my sheet. And I guarantee you, any player is going to be like, great, and that'll be the end of the conversation, and you just start playing.
Well, yeah, but that's what I meant about, like, when I was saying about the game not having to be WYSIWYG. Just because you don't have a weapon on the mech, as long as you have the correct sheet for the gameplay. Like, I haven't come across anyone who plays Battletech that would have a problem with that sort of thing.
Yep. It's, like I say, you could use a bottle cap as long as you have the right sheet. And even now, you don't, as a matter of fact, you don't need to find a PDF and print stuff off if you don't want to, because there's a program now called Flex Sheets. It's one of the things I showcased in not the last episode, but the one before that, where we accidentally left our record sheets in the hotel for that game, and I said, no, it's no problem. You can pull this up, and it's a app that you can get on your phone for Android if you have it. But if you don't, you can also go on the internet and use it, and it's spelled FLECHS, Flex Sheets. And it's a digital record sheet for Battletech. It's just tap and fill in. That's how it works.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So there's a lot of resources out there if you wanted to get into the game or play it, and it doesn't cost much to get into the game. Nope. Like any game, you could throw a crazy amount of money at it if you want to.
If you want,
it's up to the individual. Yeah.
Another free app I would suggest every Battletech player has on their phone, if they can get it, is called Mech Factory. And you can download that for free on the App Store, or Google Play, I should say. And it's got every mech ever made, ever. Like, so the stats for everything, if you just want to look at it, you can. All the vehicles, all the aerospace fighters, all technology, lore, that kind of thing. Mech Factory is just fantastic. So if you don't have it, you should get it.
I think I downloaded it at some point for sheets.
Yep.
There's a lot of force builders as well. So if you want to sit down and make a specific unit, or you wanted to play a specific scenario, there's a lot of that. But there's a lot. Yeah, I think that we're getting into that age anyway, where there's a lot of war gamers and a lot of games developers are doing that. They're moving to applications for building their forces, since it seems to be like the accepted thing now, I think, these days.
You can even create your own mechs on Mech Factory and then download the PDF file for free and then just print it on your computer, and now you have your own custom sheet. And the neat thing about the Mech Factory sheets, when you print them, is it reduces the record sheet area by a little bit, but then on the margins, on the bottom and the right-hand side, it has all the tables that you need. Your missile hits, your two-hit table, like, what direction you're shooting at somebody from, or your cluster missile hits. It has all the relevant tables that you would need. It's almost to the point where you wouldn't even need a rule book if you just knew what the rules were already. I like to have one on hand just in case, but all the tables are right there on the sheet.
I think the game gets like that anyway. You don't really need to reference the rule book unless there's like a very specific thing that happens. Like, you push a mech off of the building and it lands on another one. You might need to reference the rule books for that. But as for like moving around and taking cover behind hills or moving into woods or into rivers and stuff, that stuff's common enough that it happens that you'll, like, even myself, I find I don't have to look at that type of stuff. And I'm not playing Battletech very long. I haven't got a lot of games under my belt, but it's easy enough to adapt to.
That's what I tell folks. It looks complicated on the surface, but like once you sit down, if you go through, let's say, 4 turns, you've basically learned all you need to know. Like, and anything else that comes up is just nuance. So you just learn it as you go at that point. But if you understand the basics of movement and shooting, that's 90% of the game right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one, definitely. That's the majority of the game. Move, shooting, learning to count your modifiers, that, you're sorted.
But the Gator system, that's one of my favorite things that they have developed in the last 25 years is the gunnery, attacker movement, target movement, other stuff, range. Like, it's so easy, that mnemonic device, to teach new players. And I went through and I took my Battletech manual to a Kinko's, and I copied off that section and then cut it out, and I made little cards that I pass out. I'm like, do you need a Gator card? If you need one, here you go. And this will teach you how to calculate your numbers so that after, like I say, 3 or 4 turns, you start picking it up. And back in the day, we didn't used to have that. Like, when I was a teenager, we would routinely forget, did I walk or run, or, what's your movement, or what do I got to do? And so that Gator thing, and then adapting the movement dice as an official rule, that was perfect.
Totally. We have some questions here off of some of the viewers. We have Sci-Fi asking, do all the bigger mechs overhang the bases? And he's asking, are all the bases the same size? You assume so if it's a hex board.
Yes, all the hex bases are 1.25 inches. And some mechs, the miniatures, they have given them some kind of action pose. So some of them look like they're stepping off or stepping onto the base. But the bases themselves are all 1.25 inches, yeah. And it just depends on the pose.
Yeah, depending on the dynamics of the pose. Now, the charger that I have is those half-size ones. The hexes that they did where they lopped a bit off so you could see what terrain it was on?
Yep.
The whole reason for this one being different was so you could see the terrain that the mech was in without having to lift it up. They're all right. I'd prefer if he was on a full-size hex myself. But game-wise, once you know where the mech is and it's facing, they all have set heights. So, it's pretty defined. I like that about Battletech as well. There's no grey areas in that regards, or if there is a grey area, it's not very common. You know what way a mech's facing, you know what arcs you're going to be coming in on, you know how tall it is, whether you're going to be able to get line of sight from your elevation to that one's elevation, and it's all pretty set.
Often about it is that the rule set is an abstract or an abstraction. It's not meant to be 100% lifelike, and that's, gosh, I tell you, when I was a teenager, that was one of the biggest arguments that you would find at any. That doesn't make sense, that would be okay. Well, this is a simulation. It's not meant to mirror real life 100%, but at the same time, you have rules that say, a mech stands this tall. And even if the miniature itself is smaller than something else, you'd say, well, you still get that benefit. It still stands this tall. Like if you set a Irby next to an Atlas, it's massively different. But
volumetrically, like, the dynamics of the game for gameplay, they'll be the same height. You know what I mean? Even though, like, if you're looking at it through the miniatures eye view, it'd be slightly different. But I think abstractions like that just help with the flow of the game. You know what I mean? You're not worried about, can this guy see my missile pod, poking up from the side of the building type of thing. You don't have any of that with the classic Battletech. Now, I don't know about Alpha Strike in regards to line of sight. Is that more like literal, or how does line of sight work for Alpha Strike?
Line of sight in Alpha Strike is so simple. It works like this. If it's behind you, you can't see it. If it's in front of you, you can see it. As long as it's not behind like a mountain or going through too many trees, like, boom, you can see it. It's in front of you, so you can shoot it now. And there's a line, like on the hex base, that very rear hex side. If you're behind that line, then you can't see it. If you're in front of that line, you can see it. That's just the end of it. And the only things that would occlude your line of sight at that point would be a mountain or a building, or you're shooting through too many woods here and you can't see them through the trees. But other than that, it's real straightforward. If you have like a little sight laser like a army painter makes, the target lock.
Yeah, I've got one of them somewhere.
Oh yeah, I call that the argument solver. It's just like, you can't argue with a laser. And so Alpha Strike makes line of sight even less, of an issue than it would be in Classic. Whereas in Classic, you have to figure out where your line of sight actually traces through because the hexes are a thing. So if you hit your sight laser and you're coming up on your opponent, and let's say that sight laser traverses through the exact middle of 2 hexes, so right on the line, the defender gets to choose which hex that line of sight traces through. Whereas in Alpha Strike, there are no hexes, so it's just like, are you there? Can I see you? Yes. Okay. It makes it even faster for that aspect.
Oh, that's good, yeah, because like I said, I haven't tried Alpha Strike yet myself. I do intend to eventually. I just have not got a game in myself personally, but it'll be something that'll happen.
Oh, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
I'd say so.
Just because, like I say, the quick and the dead,
Yeah. I'll definitely, like, if I wanted to play a game where I wanted all 12 of my Battletechs, I'd probably do an Alpha Strike game. I'll probably get my friend when we're able to play games again. I'll probably get my friend to run a game like that. Maybe a big game that would be it'd be fun. Be interesting. Be interesting to see what way it plays because I haven't played it. I have the rule book and I got the mercenary book for Alpha Strike. Is it the source book? I think it's a source book.
Mm-hmm.
For Alpha Strike, but you don't have to. But like source books, they're just lore from what I gather. There's no.
Some of them, yes, and if you're like super interested in the military structure, for example, of House Steiner, then you can pick up that field manual. And you're right, that's mostly just lore and what kind of regimental organization they use and their dress uniforms and their political structure and that kind of thing. But there are. And they're fixing to drop a new one, actually. The Tukiid source book is going to be coming out within the next month, I want to say. And that's not only just a source book of what happened, but a lot of the old source books back from the mid-90s, they used to have lore, but they would also have campaign settings that you could play on the tabletop in them. So, for example, the Northwind Highlanders chronicles the last stand of the legendary Black Watch. And you can actually play that fight. It has all the rules and everything there for you and what mechs and what skill levels everybody is and there you go. And that's what the old source books used to have in them. So the one that they're fixing to drop here shortly, the Tukiid one, is going to be just like that. It's going to have the, as far as I know anyway, don't hold me to it, but it's going to have scenarios that you can play, and then it's going to have lore as well, so you can back that scenario up with the story as well.
So there'll be specific scenarios. I think I played one with my veteran friend where it was like that. It would tell you where the numbered hexes are, where you're supposed to be deployed, which mechs you each have, and which pilots are in each mech. So it's
I have a feeling that's what it's going to be. I have a feeling that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, but I think that would be interesting because then because it's so structured, you could literally get people playing the same game. You know what I mean? And then, like, if there was other channels as well, it'd be like, how did you guys pan out with that scenario? And we played it as well, and this is what happened, and that's what happened in your one. Like, there's a lot of variance in Battletech. I think we were saying this before we started up. I think that, no 2 games will be the same, even if you start with exactly the same mix.
Yep.
There's so much divergence with the dice and what will happen. That'd be interesting. It'd be nice to try out some more scenarios. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with the Tukiid. I don't think it's being put onto the Kickstarter, which I think is a bit of a pity. I'd like if it got put onto that, so I could bolt it on. But it is what it is. I'll get the FLGS to order it in, and I'll get it through them.
Yeah, same.
Torment them about it. Yeah.
And I loved those, especially the opportunity to play a historic game, like a game that actually took place sometime in the universe, and you get to recreate and see if you can change history. That's one of my favorite things to try and do, is change history, just to see if I can pull this off, whereas the unit in the story was not able to. Yeah, or they did, but it was real difficult,
Or someone died in the process. Maybe you could replay it. You know what I mean? They lost this mech warrior or that mech warrior, or this resource was destroyed. That it's really, like I keep saying, like, there's a lot of depth to the game. So it's a sci-fi game, but it's also kind of like a historical game as well, because it has its own timeline
Yep.
So and its own settings, and like
I like to say
tech.
it's like Firefly meets Robot Jocks, Game of Thrones, a little bit of the OT Star Wars stuff, and Mad Max all just come together, and that's Battletech.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can definitely see that, and I get it. But there's a little bit of me that's looking at it as well, and it's kind of, like playing a historical game as well, where maybe two of us will want to replay, like, I don't know, Operation Barbarossa or something like that sort of campaign, World War Two, when you'd play a World War Two type of thing. Like, you'll have campaigns and battles in BattleTech that are set in specific timelines with specific forces, and they'll give you the full rundown of the full forces on either side. These guys had these mechs, this pilot, he had this level stats, so you can, you know what I mean? It's a lot of scope and depth, which is interesting as well.
Believe it or not, with what you were just saying there is a old technical readout that you can still find in PDF form called TRO 1945. And it was an April Fool's joke, but they actually made the TRO. So you can go through and pick out infantry and tanks and whatever else that you want, and using the BattleTech rule system could actually play out a World War II era battle if that's what you wanted to do.
This is very true.
Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of an interesting thing. Not a lot of folks capitalize on that, but I mean, I just happen to know it exists. So if somebody wanted to play, Panzers, versus Sherman tanks, it's in there.
You can use the rule set to play that sort of scenario if you wanted.
Mm-hmm. And just use the infantry rules, for your infantrymen that are coming up alongside the tanks, and you could have a great, like, real historical battle there just using that rule set. And I think that'd be pretty phenomenal to see, if I'm being honest. If somebody out there did that, I'd watch the hell out of it. Maybe I'll do that. Shucks.
Yeah, why not? Go for it, man. That'd be fun. This is a lot of, because historically, I used to love going through books like that where it was saying historical books, especially the ones with the maps where they show where the different units were and what movements they made and all that type of stuff. I used to love going through them as a kid. What's the crack? We've more people dropping in. More gamer Spud's here. What's the crack, Spud? I caught your stream earlier, man. I was loving it. Essex boys are here as well. What's the crack? We're all talking everything Battletech tonight, lads. So apologies for no 40k Orky content, but we have to spread the love, yourself. With our guest Tuck Davian, chatting everything mech related. It's going to be great crack. So what are you looking forward to out of the Kickstarter? Is there any specific mechs you're into? Because myself personally, I don't really know the clan mechs. Maybe like a Mad Cat, that's about it. But apart from that, I'm just looking for the Inner Sphere stuff. What are you looking forward to out of the Kickstarter?
I was just telling somebody else this the other day. I'm super into when they start sending out the Comstar stuff, the level 2 mechs. Comstar doesn't have Lance organization. They run in units of 6. And so you'll have a box presumably with 6 miniatures in it. And that's when they're going to redesign things like the Black Knight and the King Crab and guys like that, and just these iconic machines from days gone by. And they have all the redesigns of that I've seen with all the Kickstarter updates, and man, just it's great look. And so I'm real looking forward to those Comstar mechs for sure. And then a lot of the other clan stuff too. The Kodiak, for example, that's another one I'm really looking forward to seeing, because I know that my buddy Bear is going to love that. And so, yeah, the Comstars one's the one I would say that I'm most looking forward to, miniature-wise. Supplement-wise, I would say Tukiyid is going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to that. Something that the Kickstarter, I think, either cranked out or gave a big push to was the new adaptation of Shrapnel magazine. I don't know if you've heard of it, but Shrapnel is great, and Shrapnel just was a book they made in the 80s originally that just told stories. Like, there was no rules or there was no games in it or anything like that. It was just nothing but, cover to cover, just stories from the Battletech universe, and that was all it was. And so these new ones that they're making, not only do they have stories in them, but they have like mechs and they have other things in there, just opinion and stuff like that. And I really like the new relaunch. So anytime they come up with a new one of those, I'm like, yeah, where can I get the print on demand and have it sent to me? Because I'm a physical media guy. Like I don't do so much the digital stuff. I always say you can't smack someone over the head with a PDF. So I'd rather just have the book.
No, I'm the same myself. I think I got like Shrapnel 1 and 2 on print on demand. There's a couple of the Battletech players here, and we group together. So one of the guys would be like, hey, I'm going to do an order. Do you want anything? And we all sort of do a group order for like print on demand stuff, and then we go from there.
I'm also kind of looking forward to putting this guy together, the Fortress dropship that I got.
Hold on. Close cam. Go. Whoop. Oh, nice.
Yeah, I haven't opened this yet. I'm going to do an unboxing for it later. But this was part of my Kickstarter gimmicks that I got. And I've seen some people put them together, but I haven't held it in my hands yet, aside from just the box. So I'm looking forward to that. And just putting that together and then painting it. And that'll be a lot of fun. I have an idea for it.
This is what it's... See, even the drop ships, like so the ships that you land on the planet in, there's rules for them and sheets for them. And there's miniatures for them, so you can have them on your game, and they're shooting at you. You're shooting back and doing damage, and then they can like load up and take off. Like it's what you want, man.
I've
like,
used them.
What's not to like?
A buddy of mine had a couple of them, and we used them in a game. I used the Overlord class, so it's like the big egg-shaped one. We had that, and that was just the spot where the mechs left from, and they had to go get something, and they had to come back to that. So. I've used that before, and he's also made scenarios where that dropship is active, and dropship weapons are a lot more powerful than battle mech scale weapons. It don't take much from a dropship to knock you on your butt, even if you're in like a big honkin' assault mech, because they're naval class weapons, and they do a lot more damage because they're shooting at things that have so much armor on them that it has to do that much damage to even have a shot.
Well, yeah, it's going to be like the difference between a tank firing its cannon at you and a battleship.
Exactly.
Or, even a cruiser or whatever, There's a difference in caliber, lads. You know what I mean? Modeling for Advantage was saying he's going to have to shoot soon, but I'm probably going to get the basic starter set. It's all your fault. Good. I look forward to it, Kaiser. Look forward to seeing your unboxing and what you guys get to do with it. It'll be good crack indeed. We're coming close to the end of the stream, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot up invite for the Discord. If you know about it, if you've been doing any hobby while we've been doing it, post your pictures into the live stream work in progress. It's in the mech shop section. So if you've been doing hobby, I'm already seeing images popping up. Some people have been painting mechs. If you've been doing a hobby along with us, show it up there and we'll have a look and see what folk have been up to. And
just real fast before we bug out, I found the channel that has that Halloween special, and it's an Alpha Strike game, so you may enjoy that just to kind of get an idea of what it's like. The name of the channel is called Alpha Strike -We Play! And I haven't watched the full video yet, but it's a good 35 minutes, and it's a scenario where I guess they have a hatchet man wielding an axe, and as Jason Voorhees, and he's chasing some teenagers at Camp Crystal Lake. So I'm looking real forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I love how people do some of the cheesy scenarios as well. It's like, the game really is what you want to make of it. It really is. Right, we're gonna jump over there, folks. If you've got any more pictures, throw them in now into the Discord work in progress. We're going to bounce over and have a look. If I manage to do this schlick. We have I don't know how to pronounce your name, dude. Hajilo saying he watched the video. It was great fun.
Oh, the Halloween special?
The one you were on about, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And then we have another comment from Sci-Fi saying, are the models easy to battle damage? I'd say so, Sci. They're not they're plastic enough, so I reckon if you it's easy enough to get the mold line off. I reckon if you just get like a sharp enough blade, you could take chunks out of them if you wanted to, or if you wanted to do sponging technique, or there's various ways you could weather them or throw up some
If you go on to Camo Specs, that's the official guys that do painting for Battletech. They have all kinds of neat dioramas where they have battle damaged units, so you can see what's possible there if you just check out Camo Specs online.
And you'll be, because they do really good tutorials as well on the...
Yep.
They were using Citadel contrast paints to paint up mechs. They were using various paints and varnishes for doing like lens effects on cockpits and dueling. And someone did mention there in the comment section a way back that the Citadel gem paints, like what you were saying, are pretty good.
Yep.
So there's a good few of them there.
And B1B Flyer is the guy that does that, and he's a pro.
Oh yeah, I've seen the stuff he does. It's really good. So I'm gonna jump over to the Discord work in progress. I'll bring that up on screen, and we'll have a look and see what people have been working on. So we've a couple of pictures here, which is fine. We'll get through them, and then we'll wrap things up. So we have Dim saying not much done, but made a start on my Battletech stuff. In brackets, he's saying Clan Snow Raven. So if I remember correctly, the one on the left is a Mad Cat, and then the one on the right is a Daishi. Is it the one with the like quad laser arms of Doom?
Yep, and it's got that big angular torso.
Yeah, it looks like it's got like a turtle shell on its back or something. Yep. Yeah. With the Mad Cat sort of cockpit. Yeah, it's like the Mad Cat's bigger brother. I see what's going on here.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. I'm liking the blue there, Dim. It's I'm liking also that you've got your trolls in the background and seem to be a very similar hue of blue. It's it's nice, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's they're coming along nicely. I reckon even if you were just to pick out a few panels like the guns, and then just even the cockpits, like they'd be perfect. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to go too crazy on them. But that's up to you, man. But yeah, nice start, man. Nice start. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of them done up. We have Poke Cactus. He's saying, welcome to the jungle. I think you sold me on Battletech.
Yes! One of us!
Hey, another victim. He's making up some jungle terrain. That looks pretty nice, man.
Oh, man, right
From
on.
styrene, and looks like he's messing around with plaster of Paris and other bits and pieces. It's looking good, dude. I look forward to seeing that done up. So nice. Bit of terrain as well. Very nice. Moving on, we've got Essex Boys. He's painting up some zombies. So it's not all just Battletech and 40k here, folks. You can do a bit of everything.
I love zombies.
He's painting up some zombies. Yeah, nice variation as well. Nice. I like when people do that. They do if you get a lot of the same pose, even if you do them in different paint jobs, it can make a big difference with your miniatures. If you do some slight variation in that regard, it can make a big difference. But they're looking good, man. Sweet.
Right
nice. I'm liking the look of them. Don't forget to close your paint pots properly. I see that lid there. That's no, you're taking your life in your hands there with a Citadel wash pot, my good friend. Just be safe rather than sorry. And he's working on them for the zombie side. He's got a fair few. There's quite a few people I know have bought zombie side just for the miniature count on it.
Oh sure.
There's quite a lot of zombies in it. I played it once with my friend Dread, and I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. I enjoyed it. It was great crack. We managed to survive, but it was a great crack. We have the hobby get saying it was this Timber Wolf. Yep. Using Vallejo extra opaque blue. Oh, I've yet to try that extra opaque one. That's really good. A good coverage on them.
Vallejo makes good paint.
They do, man.
Yeah.
I've been switching over to them and having great fun with the Vallejo paints. That's what I'm painting on my Battletech stuff in. I'm using like German grey, the model colour stuff, and like Luftwaffe camouflage from the model colour line. And then I think the light, I use like a pale blue from the model airline. So it's, good variation. There's a lot of paints. I like them. I like them that they're thicker, so you thin them out yourself. Yeah. And that's what we have. That's the images people have been working on, their progress. So thanks for sharing, guys. It has been great crack. I have enjoyed it. It's been great chat, man. My God, it's been
absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's been great fun. It's been great having you on, Tuck. I really enjoyed the content. If you're not subscribed to Battlebound, you'll find a link in the description below of the video. Go over there, throw the guys a subscription. They do great videos for Battletech, great content. Yeah, you know, what's not to like? So thanks for coming on, Tuck.
Thank you, sir.
I've enjoyed it, and keep up the good work with the videos, man. I'm really loving them. They're absolutely great crack.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate the encouragement.
Definitely. Well, looking forward to seeing some of that Clanner stuff coming out from the Kickstarter from you.
Same.
I'll be interested to see what happens. So for everyone who's joined us for this night's Hobby Hangout, thank you for joining. Thanks for sharing your images. If you're not subscribed to the channel, throw me a subscription. Hit the like button. It really sort of helps. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next Hobby Hangout. So thanks for joining us, folks. And don't forget to drill your barrels when applicable. We'll see you again.
Take care. in here? Okay. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But that little chit chat went pretty well.
It sounded like it did.
Of course, I'm a dumbass and forgot that I was recording that conversation and haven't turned it off yet.